Thank you for inviting me to share with you a rights-based perspective on inclusion in children's education. My name is Brother Tino Diabrio, and I am a member of the Edmund Rice International team in Geneva. ERI is a faith-based NGO committed to human rights and advocacy. ERI works for human rights with a special focus on children, education, disability, women, and care of the earth. ERI engages with the UN in Geneva and New York and conducts human rights and advocacy training for the Edmund Rice Global Network. Rights-based perspective on inclusion in children's education emphasizes that all children, regardless of their background or abilities, have the right to access quality education and participate fully in learning. This approach views education not just as a service, but as a fundamental human right, necessitating the removal of barriers to participation and ensuring that diverse needs are met within mainstream settings. Let me start by tracing for you how several key UN international treaties emphasize a rights-based perspective on inclusion in children's education. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the UN General Assembly on 10 December 1948, recognizes education as a fundamental right, with Article 26 specifically stating that everyone has the right to education. The UDHR also implies that education should be directed towards the full development of the human personality and the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child was adopted on 20th November 1989 by the UN General Assembly and ratified by India in 1992. It has been ratified by all 193 UN member states except one. It highlights the right to education, the best interests of the child, and non-discrimination. Article 28 affirms the right of every child to education, emphasizing that school discipline should be administered in a way that respects the child's human dignity. Article 2 ensures that all rights are guaranteed to every child without discrimination of any kind. Article 3 dictates that the best interests of the child must be a primary consideration in all actions concerning children. Articles 28 and 29 of the CRC outlines the aims and objectives of education, reinforcing the importance of holistic development and the child's active participation in their education. Article 23 specifically addresses the rights of children with disabilities, ensuring they have a full and decent life, can participate actively in the community, and have access to education. Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities was adopted by the UN General Assembly on 13 December 2006 and ratified by India in 2007. It specifically addresses the right to inclusive education. Article 24 of the CRPD focuses on the right to inclusive education for individuals with disabilities, emphasizing equal access and opportunities at all levels of education. The CRPD works to eliminate discrimination based on disability and promote equal opportunities for all individuals in the education system. From these UN treaties, some core principles for a rights-based perspective on inclusion in children's education emerges. Universal access. Every child has the right to be included in mainstream education and receive appropriate support to learn alongside their peers. Dignity and respect. Educational practices should be respectful of all children's inherent dignity and value, recognizing their unique strengths and potential. Child participation. Children's voices and perspectives should be actively sought and considered in matters related to their education. Equality and non-discrimination. Educational systems should strive to eliminate all forms of discrimination and ensure equal opportunity for all children, including those with disabilities or other special needs. This is possible when our educational system caters for inclusive classrooms, creating classrooms where children with and without disabilities learn together with appropriate support and accommodations. Individualized support, providing tailored support and resources to meet the diverse learning needs of all students. Curriculum adaptations, adapting the curriculum and teaching methods to be more inclusive and accessible to all learners. Professional development, training educators on inclusive practices and strategies. Parent and community involvement, actively involving parents and the wider community in the education of all children. In essence, a rights-based perspective on inclusion in education is about creating a system that is truly for all children, where every child has the opportunity to reach their full potential and participate fully in society. Since the year 2000, the rights-based perspective on inclusion in children's education has evolved from a focus on special needs access within mainstream schools under the Millennium Development Goals to a broader, more holistic approach emphasizing equitable access and participation for all learners under the Sustainable Development Goals. SDGs emphasize that education is a fundamental human right and should be accessible to all children regardless of their background or abilities. This perspective focuses on ensuring that educational systems are designed to meet the diverse needs of all learners, promoting participation and reducing exclusion. The SDGs, particularly SDG 4, which focuses on inclusive and equitable quality education, are intrinsically linked to child rights and offer a framework for achieving this vision. Inclusion is now viewed as a process requiring systemic changes to create welcoming and supportive learning environments for all. The SDGs promote a whole education approach which considers the broader social and emotional well-being of students alongside academic achievement. UDHR, along with the Convention on the Rights of the Child, forms the foundation for recognizing education as a fundamental right in India. Article 21A of the Indian Constitution guarantees the right to free and compulsory education for children, laying the groundwork for inclusive education. The Right to Education Act 2009 further clarifies the modalities for implementing the right to education, emphasizing free and compulsory education for all children. India has made strides in enacting policies like the Right of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, which advocates for inclusive education. However, effective implementation requires addressing practical challenges at the school level. Teacher training. A critical gap exists in teacher training programs to equip educators with the skills and knowledge to support diverse learners in inclusive classrooms. Insufficient training leads to inadequate differentiation of instruction and a lack of understanding of inclusive practices. Infrastructure and resources. Many schools lack the necessary infrastructure, such as accessible buildings and learning materials, to accommodate students with disabilities. This physical barrier, coupled with limited resources, further marginalizes these students. Attitudinal barriers. Negative attitudes and biases towards students with disabilities prevalent among some teachers, administrators, and even parents can create a hostile learning environment. Overcoming these attitudinal barriers is crucial for fostering a welcoming and inclusive culture in schools. Social inclusion. Beyond physical and academic inclusion, social inclusion is vital. Students with disabilities often face stigma and bullying, highlighting the need for social awareness and sensitivity training for all students. Curriculum and assessment. Curriculum and assessment practices need to be adapted to cater to diverse learning needs and styles. This includes providing differentiated learning experiences and assessment methods that accurately reflect student learning. Community engagement, involving parents and the wider community in the inclusive education process, is essential for creating a supportive ecosystem. Community awareness campaigns can help dispel misconceptions and foster a sense of shared responsibility. Equity and justice. Inclusive education is not just about physical presence in the classroom, but ensuring equitable access to quality education and opportunities for all students to reach their full potential. India is home to almost 19% of the world's children. More than one-third of the country's population, around 480 million, is below 18 years. While India has made progress in promoting inclusive education, significant work remains to be done to address the systemic barriers and ensure that all students, regardless of their abilities or disabilities, have access to quality and equitable education. I wish you all the very best for the remaining part of your Justice Meet. God bless.